So one of the key differences between a standard business approach and a design thinking approach, or a human-centered design approach, is the emphasis that design thinking places on discovery, and the amount of discovery and the amount of time you spend on discovery at the beginning of the process before you get into doing any of the problem-solving pieces. And it's really overlooked in business for a number of reasons. Part of it is because it often seems like there's not a lot happening, or there's a lot of ambiguity around, or because everybody's just desperate to get into the doing part. So there's a tendency to go, we know what the problem is, let's get to the ideation phase, let's go brainstorm and then start prototyping, because when you feel active, it feels like you're being more productive. But the thing is, if you go into that phase without doing enough discovery to start with, you don't have the insights that give you the value that you need. So every design thinking model emphasizes it, whether you're doing double diamonds or the hexagons or any of the other of the myriad that are around. And I would spend an enormous amount of time focusing on it until you get something that's really juicy. So for example, if I'm running a course and I'm running a case study, working on a case study, fully 2/3 of that process we would spend in discovery before going into problem framing, ideation, and rapid prototyping. So why do we do it? For a couple of reasons, but there's two main ones. The first is that if you are trying to do something new, then you need new information. You need an insight to break you out of whatever your existing, whatever the existing problem space is. Otherwise, you're just doing different flavors of the same thing, and you're not actually progressing the problem or the solutions that you come up with. And even more importantly, you do it to gain empathy for the people that you are creating for, and making sure by doing this that you are building in relevance. Now, relevance is incredibly important, and again, we take it for granted in that whole build it and they will come thing that we fall into. Relevance is everything. When you don't have relevance, that is why we get a 70 to 95% failure rate in most of the innovation and change programs and transformation programs and so on that we are working with. So when we're trying to create a new outcome, huge fail rates, no relevance. So it doesn't matter at that point whether you have a great idea or a fantastic new solution or a new bit of kit. If it isn't relevant, it has no value. It doesn't matter how cool it is. So relevance is absolutely king. Now, when we're working with design thinking, remember design thinking, as we've said before, is largely a codified creative process. So, and as such, it varies between going from a period of divergence to a period of convergence, and then so on and so forth, as long as you continue the process for. So it's like an oscillation between those two states. Now, what happens is that first period of divergence is your discovery phase before you come into problem framing, before you converge into problem framing. And if you don't do enough discovery, if you skim over this, what happens is that you only diverge a little bit before you come in, which means that you are filling all of that extra space, all of that extra discovery space, with assumptions and existing knowledge. That's not really interesting. It's not enough to blast you out of your existing worldview to come up with something that is truly engaging. So spend enough time doing it. Build it in. It is the thing that gives value to everything else that you are going to spend time and money on. And if you don't do it, what happens is that you start with the ideation and you go into the prototyping, and when that isn't relevant, what that becomes is your discovery phase. It's just a lot more expensive at that end of the process. So how do you do it? What skills do you need? Well, in order to bring in and gather information, it's just like being a great detective or an explorer. You need to be fabulous at observation, because you cannot change what you do not consciously notice. You need to be great at listening to really hear what's going on, and great at questioning. So those are your basic skills for discovery. And then you have to be able to make meaning of it, which means that once you get all this information, you need to be great at synthesizing it, at pattern hunting, and being really comfortable looking for paradoxes in order to find that insight that's going to blast you out of the space that you're in. So if you want to get great outcomes, if you want to get relevant, valuable outcomes, spend the time in discovery. As I said, it can take 2/3 of the time up front, where it's cheap to do and where you can kind of experiment with making sure that you understand and engage the people that you're working with in order to get something that's truly relevant and really valuable at the other end. So take the time, live with the ambiguity, and go explore. And if you want to hear even more insights, tips and tricks about design thinking and wicked problems, then please sign up to my newsletter. It comes out every couple of weeks or so at mofox.com, or connect with me or follow me on LinkedIn. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.